and welcome to the Daily Drum for this Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. I'm Mocha Green. Harold Fisher has the night off. Tonight, we examine the impact of social media on youth. This is a story that hits home with so many of us. From mental health concerns to online safety, the questions are growing for social media companies. Are their platforms causing more harm than good? Lawmakers, the court systems, mental health experts, educators, parents are beginning to address that question. And tonight, what does the research show? And what responsibility do these companies have when it comes to protecting young users? And my guests are going to help us drill down on this issue that is very topical. Dr. Talitha Washington is the executive director at Howard University Center for Applied Data Science and Analytics. And then we have Danae Jones Aicher, who's a mother of two and National Director of Advocacy and Public Policy for Mocha Moms. Ladies, thank you so very much for joining us for this very important conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
It's great to be here.
This social media, listen, I can speak from personal experience. I have a high school senior, and every day, without fail, I say to her, put the cell phone down. You can eat without the cell phone. You don't need to be on TikTok. You don't need to follow these TikTok people who are giving you a false reality. It is ingrained in our children now. I mean, they cannot be without this cell phone. Set the tone for what we're experiencing in society as it relates to our children and social media and this issue that we're dealing with as parents. I want you to go first, Danae, and put your mother's hat on, as well as, being part of Mocha Moms.
So absolutely, this is an incredibly important discussion. Even if I were not a part of Mocha Moms, my mother's hat would always be on. There is no part of my life where that is not somehow with me. Mm-hmm. And this particular issue is because, as you say, every day, not once a day, every day, several times a day, I am saying to one of my kids, put the phone down. You don't need the phone. I think you might be addicted, and all of the things, which are not the healthiest things to say, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But I think it is healthy for us to be regularly asking our kids, instructing our kids to put the phone down. Now, of course, Mocha Moms, I do want to be clear, Mocha Moms is a national organization. We are a 501c3, which means that we are not at all partisan, but being that we are overwhelmingly an organization of Black moms, mm-hmm. and more broadly, mothers of color, I often say that our very identity is political. So our very identity as Black women and our very identity as mothers, those are political identities, especially in this world, in this day and age, in this country. And so while Mocha Moms is a support organization specifically for mothers, people think of us as a playgroup. We are not a playgroup. We are a support organization for women who are mothers, regardless of what those kids' ages are. We have to focus sometimes. We do focus sometimes on what is good for our children. Mm-hmm. And so nationally, of course, we can't set policy for how every chapter around the country operates. But I will tell you, because we meet regularly with our local leaders from around the country, moms are always concerned about the social media issue.
Absolutely.
And I'll be really interested in hearing how Dr. Washington talks about this, because one of our concerns are like an onion, very layered. So I think parents in general are concerned about the impact of social media and
all of it. Oh my goodness.
Our children are spending on it. As mothers, Black children, Black and brown children of color, we also have to be concerned. Like everybody has concerned about body image and everything. We also have to be concerned about the attacks and the assaults that are coming to our children
Well,
through these airwaves.
let me bring Dr. Talitha in because I do want to examine all of those things.
Mhm.
Dr. Talitha, you're a mother of two 20-somethings, so you understand that from a mom's perspective. Let's talk about the data perspective and what your research and the research that's out there tells us about how frequently our young people are using social media and its effects on its well-being. Give us a general, broad view first.
Well, we can think back. I mean, I can remember way back to the days of Atari and when we got the first microwave. Our kids are thinking back to, they've always had Facebook, they've always had YouTube, the Gram, TikTok, and so on. And so their viewpoints of reality, as far as a historical progression, are quite different.
Yeah.
And when one is on technology all the time, what are they not doing with other people? They're not communicating. Mm-hmm. And I always say communication is a perishable skill. If we don't use it or flex it, we will lose it. And so how do we cultivate communication in our youth so they can communicate just by talking, having conversation, communicate by just engaging with other people? I think that can be lost if they are constantly in these tools and platforms. And then if you couple that with, now we have more sophisticated algorithms and mechanisms that resonate with one's psychology to pull people in so they keep scrolling. I was talking to a mom the other day. She said that their kid's going to have some thumb damage because all they do is scroll, so to speak.
Right.
And it's a problem because I think oftentimes many companies will launch this technology to entice the end user without necessarily thinking about the end user experience and the impact on the end user. So we have to be, I think, thoughtful when we launch different products, different technologies, and we have to think beyond just a revenue aspect, but we have to think about when that end user engages with that social media or technology, what is that end user experience?
But I think we're past some of that. Would you say when there is evidence or there is an argument that these social media companies have designed their products to be more addictive?
Yes.
And especially so to be able to attract young users and reel them in. I mean, there's even an organization or an agency called the Social Media Victims Law Center that is trying to go after, from a legal perspective, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snap, and all of them to try to get them to have some sort of accountability. What would that look like? Accountability at this point? I don't even know.
Well, we saw what happened with the tobacco industry. And so many are saying that what we're experiencing now with social media is somewhat parallel to tobacco back in the day. I remember, I do have gray hair, but I remember growing up, right? My dad smoked a pipe and people smoked cigarettes. It was people smoked cigarettes on planes, right? But then it came out that cigarettes can actually cause a biological harm, right, to one's body. It's scientifically proven sort of thing. And then in 1998, we had the agreement that came out where tobacco companies paid a lot of money. They restricted youth marketing and they actually funded anti-smoking efforts. I think we will see that same trajectory happening with social media companies. For example, we had Facebook launched in 2004, Instagram in 2010. But it wasn't until later in 2021 that there was a restriction for adults over 18 from starting private chats with teens they're not connected to on Instagram and Messenger. So
yeah, and we've seen the harm. We've seen how AI and the belief in AI being your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or one person in Japan marrying an AI man, and that sort of thing. I mean, this thing has really caused our kids, young people, users, to really buy in a way that is pretty unbelievable. And Danae, I mean, when we talk about our children and children in general, you know, committing suicide or having self-esteem issues because they're not measuring up to what they see on social media. I mean, it's one thing to go after these companies in a courtroom setting, but it's another thing as parents. I'm living a reality that I just don't. It's out. I feel out like I don't have any control, and I'm not the only parent saying this.
No, you aren't. And one of the things, as moms, I will say that we have to, what we're going to have to rely upon in this moment is ourselves and our ability, our responsibility to model some of those solutions, right? Because as you say, the genie is already out of the bottle. And it's interesting, Dr. Washington, that you raise the tobacco issue, because the movement against tobacco was decades in the making. Like, we have known for, like, not 1 decade, not 2 decades. We have known for decades that tobacco was harmful to us. It took a really long time for things to change. We do not have that kind of lead time with our babies. Like, we just don't. And so I'm one of those people who believes that everybody has a role to play, and it's not always in the same lane. From a parenting perspective, and specifically from a mothering perspective, part of what we do as Mocha Moms is we have to model. We have to take extra intention about modeling behavior. Right?
Okay, so what does that look like? Tell me.
So,
lay that out for me.
So our children see us engaged in active relationships with people, right? Look, the reality is the three of us are on social media as well. I'm willing to bet, and I'm guessing I'd win.
Absolutely. It's part of my job.
We're all on social media. So what we have to do is also be extra mindful of how we are operating on social media, and not just the parts that they can't see, because my kids can't see what I'm posting on. Well, they actually can probably see what I'm posting on Facebook. But what they also need to see is that I am in active relationships, face-to-face relationships with other people, that I am talking to people, that I am building healthy woman-to-woman relationships, co-ed relationships with people, so they can see how that's done. And so social media in general is harmful to all of us. And like, even we as adults, right, are doing some things that are unhealthy on social media. Yeah. We have to get extra careful about modeling what is healthy behavior. We can't fall into the same traps that we say we're worried about our kids falling into. And so,
yeah, Dr. Talitha, I mean, let's go with that. What responsibility do you think these social media companies actually have to use their data to, identify harm and to protect young users? I mean, this is already in litigation and will continue to be. But, as Danae says, the time is not on our side with our children. What do you see as their responsibility?
I think they're going to have to really get serious about providing protections, in particular for teens and youth. They'll have to basically up their game to make sure that teens don't have the option to opt in, but they must. Again, we saw the tobacco parallel when there was a lot more regulations and the sales and that sort of thing. What makes social media a little bit different is that this is a mental health issue where tobacco is a science issue. And so being able to justify and make a case that it is that sort of platform, that it is that social media that caused the mental health issue will be a challenge. But also, I'd like to say, at Howard, we have a course on ethical, responsible AI where we really push our students to be the ones thinking about these policies. As particular as AI, because it's AI behind the scenes that are generating the content, that are learning your likes. Companies sell your personal data across company lines so that they can market their product to you more efficiently. And so this past December 2025, there was an executive order on ensuring a national policy framework for AI. And the idea is that you have all the different states coming up with policy frameworks from California to Texas, many to protect children, right? But the idea is, what should that national AI framework look like? So we have across the United States. And I tell our students, you all have to be at the forefront of this and figure this out. And I think that we all need to lean into, what should that framework be? What should that policy be? In particular, as we come up against this election year, that not only that protects our communities, that protects the students, but also still provides a benefit. Because let's face it, we get benefits from being on social media.
Yeah.
There is benefit, to being connected, what have you, right? Being in the know. I get some of my best news from Africa on Instagram, right? That I don't get in normal news channels, whatever that is. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we have safeguards in place. And so I just like to encourage folks to really dig into this national AI framework. What should it be? What should it look like? And then put pressure on the policymakers to really provide these protections so the companies don't employ AI their platforms to basically take advantage of people.
I'm glad you mentioned Howard University, because we do need to have a role in the conversation as we continue to go and advance at lightning speeds. But Danae, I need to bring you in here to talk about the particular challenges that Black parents face, right? When we're dealing with what our kids are doing, and when it comes to guiding them through this. I mean, yes, they were born into, I don't think that they actually are on Facebook, because that's supposed to be for the old people. But they're on the other ones. They're on Instagram. Facebook is for us old heads.
Right.
But, this particular challenges for Black parents. What are we dealing with, parents of color, that perhaps, other groups are not necessarily facing at the most alarming rate? What are you seeing? What worries you?
So this will be no surprise to this crowd. When America has a cold, Black America has what?
The flu.
Right.
Pneumonia.
The flu, pneumonia, all the things.
Yes.
And America has a cold. And so, we know that, what I hear from moms all across the country, and this is not just our leaders, these are just moms on the ground, regular chapter members, is that they have come to Mocha Moms because when they have been a part of mainstream mom groups, our issues, our unique issues as Black moms with Black children, are not being addressed. Sometimes those conversations aren't welcomed. And one of those conversations, when it comes to social media, is either our kids are being targeted, as in recruited into very unhealthy conversations, a lot of them around, for instance, Black boys, around their relationships to Black women or lack thereof, right? That's unhealthy. Or being targeted with explicitly racist, or sometimes implicitly racist information and imaging and attacks on what it is to be Black in America. And what we know is being Black in America is not one thing. And so but the attacks tend to be very narrow. So we're experiencing that. Also, we know that despite the narrative, Black children can be really, and often are, very high achieving, right? The added pressure in the face of social media is really harming our kids. Like we have seen, a spate, unfortunately, over the last, I would say, I've noticed, I think we have noticed it as an organization, 2 years, and I don't want to say that these are our moms and children, but it could be, of suicide and suicide attempts with Black students.
It's
And
happened.
high achieving students, right?
Yes.
And so to the mental health issue, these are the extra things that we have to worry about. Not that suicide is an issue in general, right? And given the extra burden of what we often refer to as the Black tax, we know that there is an extra burden on our students. And it's not just those who are high achieving, right? I do not want to say that at all, but we know that these extra burdens exist, right?
And
my
sadly,
daughter is often, she's just 12, right? And I worry about the messages she's getting about what it means to be attractive, right? What are the things that she needs? If I have to buy one more thing off of TikTok,
it is the greatest peer pressure that our kids are dealing with, right on that phone, scrolling and seeing all of that coming at them. And then not to mention the other issue of trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, our girls, our children. And that,
they won't make
law
the
enforcement
news
effort and also the media coverage of children of color disappearing, there's a disparaging situation. It's disproportionate in numbers when you talk about coverage concerns and of course the enforcement of trying to find these kids. So that brings me back to you, Dr. Washington, on the analytics of it all, the algorithms and the design features that contribute to the concerns that Danae just beautifully laid out.
Yeah. And there's a famous quote in the Jurassic Park movie when they were talking about having dinosaurs roaming around and put them in a park. They said your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they did not stop to think if they should. So we have to really take a step back. Should we make this technology, right? There could be a revenue there to be had. Is that the right revenue? Is that the right product that we really want to push out? And then I'll also say that I think this also underscores the importance of us owning our own narratives, owning our own data, owning our own spaces. We saw a lot of magic, good magic happen on Black Twitter. I don't know if you saw the whole Q-zip phenomenon that went around that really portrayed, I think, positive images and really was no, this is who we are. This is our narrative.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to stop you right there because I want to continue that part of the conversation as we talk about social media's impact on our youth. But we do have to take a quick break. And we will continue the conversation on the other side, but we have to say goodbye to our WHUR audience. But more of this conversation is happening on social media and will happen on the other side of the break on Sirius XM channel 141, HUR Voices, and on 96.3 HD2. So remember, you can catch every podcast of the WHUR Drum on YouTube and WHUR.com. Up next, 96.3 WHUR, the original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon. I'm Alec Green in for Harold Fisher this evening. Stay with us. And we do welcome you back to the Daily Drum on 96.3 HD2 and Sirius XM channel 141, HUR Voices. I'm Alec Green, sitting in for Harold Fisher this evening. My guests, Dr. Talitha Washington, the executive director at Howard University Center for Applied Data Science and Analytics. And we have with us Danae Jones Aicher, a mother of two and also national director of advocacy and public policy for Mocha Moms. Ladies, this is a great conversation. I want to keep going. Dr. Talitha, I had to cut you off a little bit. As you were talking about some of the more positive things and owning the narrative on social media. And I think that is a great way to continue the conversation. Our children out, from teenager into adulthood, they need to understand owning the narrative, their own narrative.
That's right. That's right. And their narrative is important. And to provide a space where their narrative, their original thought, they are valued. And I think that in this age of data, maybe being overexposed, growing up in an environment where your data is taken from your Apple Watch to your Netflix, to your YouTube, to what have you. I think that the younger folks I think they have more of a struggle with having themselves out there and being vulnerable to this whole data acquisition. So think about how much data, by the time you're 18 right now, has been acquired about an individual and is captured in, we'll say, multiple data centers and servers and things. And how is that going to be used later on? So I really do think that as we lean in and going forward and thinking about national AI policy frameworks, we have to think about protecting people's privacy, their rights, their data, to make sure that we are protective. And I mean, as a mom, that's kind of a knee-jerk reaction, not only for my kids, but also for my students. I want to make sure that they're protected and also equipped at the same time with the knowledge. Because I tell them, I said, there's a lot of problems out there, and I really need you all to fix them. And on our campus, many of our students are not happy, rightfully so, with the data centers that are being put up. Essence Magazine did an article about data centers being put in Black communities and impact on the environment. And so they are up in arms about this. But I said, let's take a step back and let's look at data centers. How are you going to make them eco-friendly? How are you going to power them with renewable energy sources? How are you going? What's the how-to, right? And so the idea is, how can we position students, position the young folks, not only to own the narrative, but to understand the technology so that they can develop it in a way that really is beneficial on a national scale.
That's great.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, you brought up so many different points. I mean, the first point, I think, is parents are giving our kids, we are giving kids the cell phones too soon. And I know every parent has the right to judge when the right time is. But I know that my kids were way too young at the time. I didn't know what we were going to be dealing with today, and it is regretful. But in terms of them understanding their privacy, I don't think that they feel at a young age. They don't feel the same way we do about privacy. And when you give up all your information, it could come back to bite you. Danae, it's a hard thing to talk to your child when every other kid that they associate with has a cell phone. They don't care about putting in all their information here and giving it up. They don't even understand the impact of that. And being part of the conversation of policy and data centers and all of that. I mean, that's for us big people to worry about and deal with and fight these data centers, if that's your point of view, from coming to your community, and communities of color in particular possibly being targeted for these data centers. And we don't know what all of that energy and all that stuff is going to do to us health-wise down the line. I mean, this is a lot, Danae.
Well, we kind of do know a lot of the harmful impact of the data centers, right? So, and again, I'm just going back to what you said earlier, the genie is out of the bottle. So the real question is, what are we going to do now? So one of the other things that moms can do, parents in general, but especially mothers, is if we haven't done so already, I know that many of us have, but if we haven't done so already, we have got to shift our paradigms about the way we communicate with our children, right? So And also about giving our kids phones. Like I had to give my children phones earlier than I would have liked to because they were involved in activities.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to be in touch with them when they're at the dance studio, at practice, at basketball practice, and all the things. And so I think we have to recognize that we are having to make hard choices and different choices now as parents than our parents had to make.
Yeah.
So our conversations have to change also. I find myself being much more open and frank with my children than my parents ever were with me. And I have pretty open parents, right? They are in a world, as Dr. Washington says, where there's a lot of information coming at them. Have to give them more information, right? And as a professional communicator, I know that telling them once is never going to be enough. I have to tell them at least 7 times and more than that, because we all know their brains aren't right. But in addition to this, and I think that this is what Dr. Washington said, something so profound. They have a lot of information, and these are smart kids. They're smart as a function of the times that we are in. They are primed and pumped, in part because of social media, in part because of the technology, to be the solutions that we are seeking, right? I know that in the DMV, the local Mocha Moms chapters are doing like a summer camp fair next month. We're in February, so in March, right, where like all these summer camps are coming, and they're going to share like what they have to offer for students. Enroll your kids. If you're there in the DMV, you don't have to be a Mocha Mom to do it, to even be at that fair. And summer camps where we are looking at STEM. Dr. Washington, this is a call on you right now to develop a summer camp specifically around your programming, right? Enroll kids. Like, we have to be so much more intentional. So enroll kids in these summer camps where they are learning more about, look, they are with the technology anyway. We may as well be giving them the tools so they can use their little brains, be extra innovative.
Totally.
Right? Mine are looking at heading to college. Yours is looking at heading to college right now. Like, what are some things that they can do? Where are some places that they can jump in and solve these problems?
Especially since AI has erased many of the jobs that we grew up thinking we could go into. AI has wiped out a whole lot of stuff. And so our children need to be, we need to be recalibrated, and our children need to understand what is out there for them as reality in terms of the job market, careers of the future, because AI has taken away a whole lot of stuff that, I mean, do we even need paralegals, right? Because you can put everything into AI that a paralegal would do at a law firm. So that's wiped out the possibility of future employment as a paralegal for many folks. What do we even need advertising companies when AI can just write up a whole business plan and marketing plan and do the work that people used to do? Right.
But we do need people who understand the technology.
Yes, we do.
And who can program it in a way that is culturally relevant.
And I think, Dr. Talitha, that's a way for us to control the narrative. We go into this and make sure our children are controlling the narrative and controlling the way AI develops and in the future. I know that there was one. I just wanted to make this one point. You can talk about this and whatever is relevant. There was a California case where TikTok and Snap reached a settlement with plaintiffs who wanted more accountability. And so that has happened. But these companies are so big, sort of like a bank is too big to fail, right? Can't let it fail. Some industries are too big to allow to fail. Are we also looking at AI companies where they are too giant, too enormous, too powerful for us to really get under control, even with these lawsuits where in some cases they are starting to settle?
Well, yeah. So some of them have settled. Some of them are going to court, right? Civil matter, right? Lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so we will see what happens. If it actually, if it does go through or not, it could set a precedence for other pending and or future cases that would suggest that social media companies are employing data analytics AI to essentially entice, maybe even get users addicted to their platform. Not sure if that's too strong of a word, but there has to be some sort of shown malintent from the tech companies that is what they really intended to do, and then also to demonstrate that it was that particular social media that caused the mental harm.
Yeah.
But I also want to go back to something you said. I think that right now, while we have a job market that's in flux and that's being disrupted by AI, I think we do have an overpromise of AI. I always say AI cannot fix incompetence. AI cannot fix bad data. AI cannot fix bad processes. It is an algorithm. It is a tool. You can think of it like a mega calculator that can crunch some things. Garbage in, garbage out, garbage, if you process it in a bad way, you're not going to get good results. So while the job market is being, I'll say, tossed around, it's also opening up new jobs. I'm originally born and raised in Indiana, Evansville, Indiana. And at Ivy Tech, they just launched a certificate program for data center technicians. One's for an IT and one's on the the hardware. So we're seeing electricians, the need for electricians, the need for plumbers, the need for basically the trade jobs resurfacing and reemerging with, I'll say, a degree of urgency. And we don't have enough talent, a skilled technical workforce to meet that demand. So while certain jobs are being disrupted, other jobs are being, we'll say, underfilled and open. So I think we're going to see a shift in how this goes. I think also many entities are thinking that AI will solve their bottom line and increase revenue by X dollar amount, sort of thing. And then they're having to backtrack and rehire people because it's people that make it go. It's people that make it work. It's people that can actually think through, be reflective, be responsive, and maybe even have a feeling component that could help when we're making business decisions. So I think we will continue to see disruptions in the job market, how companies are viewing AI versus an AI agent to employ versus a person to employ, sort of deal. But I think it will calm down. But I do also believe that we need some guardrails. So NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, they have a suggested framework that people follow at the national scale. When they look for an AI framework, they go there for it.
Okay.
But it's not required. So there is no required national AI framework right now. And so what will that framework be? What will that framework look like? And I just want to make sure that our voices are in those conversations and are things to shape and determine what that is. Because like they say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Right. And may I add, there's one other thing that AI can't do. AI can't do us, right? AI cannot actually form and facilitate and nurture healthy relationships. And I certainly would argue that those who insist that it can are people who don't actually have healthy relationships.
Oof.
I'm looking at you, Elon. And so I said it. And one thing that we know as Black women from before we landed on this soil is that our relationships with each other have sustained us from the very beginning. And AI can't do that. AI can't bring that magic. Only we can. And our children are no longer our future. Our children are our present.
They
They are
are.
the solutions. And we equally as important, if not more important than ever, is the necessity of our guiding hand on how relationships look.
Right. And so let me go back to our children and social media and getting a handle. I love what you suggested in terms of keeping your kids busy. Summer
Mhm.
camp, camps that focus on AI technology or not. What are some of the other practical things that parents you suggest for parents who are dealing with their children and an unhealthy relationship with social media? I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on some things that parents can do. And give us some real specific things that you might want to suggest.
So I know yesterday I was invited to a department meeting at Howard, and as many faculty and teachers across the country, they're experiencing an overhaul. How do we
Yeah.
teach writing when AI is there? How do we teach reading when we can just use AI to summarize the text? How do we teach? You can keep going on and on. And so how do we do this? And I asked the question, I said, have you sat down with the students to see how they see things? How do they see AI? Not how do I see it, but how do they see AI? How do they see the world? How are they interacting? How are they viewing things? I said, because in order to help somebody or to at least support them going from point A to point B, you have to understand where they are now, not judgmental, because we're all at different places and that's okay. It's no judgment here, but where are they now? How are they seeing the world? Because it's going to be quite different than, me over 50 sort of thing, right? And so if I can understand how they're seeing their vantage point, what's important to them, I can meet them where they are and help them get to where they need to go. But without, I think, that understanding of us sometimes just taking a step back and just say, tell me about you. How are you doing this? I value you as a person, and let's just have a frank conversation. Now we can talk about maybe how about this, or maybe how about that. But to really understand, I'll say the different generations. Because I remember when I was young, I thought it was yesterday, maybe not. And
I know.
The elders, right? The elders said that about us. Oh, you young people, da, da, da. But now I think that the time lapse has shortened between the people who say, oh, those young people, right? And so I think we just need to take a step back, understand how our children, how our students have grown in this world, and just meet them where they are and understand their vantage point, and then help guide them through lived experiences, by communicating through relationships and just interacting.
If they'll let us. I mean, I have a teenager who pushes back.
Trust me.
Danae, help me out here. I loved what Dr. Talitha said and suggested, because that is an excellent strategy. What are your suggestions for parents who are struggling to get a handle on their kids and social media, being out of control with the phone?
Well, much to what Dr. Washington said, I would encourage us to not try to get a handle on our kids, but to join them. And so one of the things that I work on is, why don't we just ask them for their help? Like, nobody is going to be better at social media for us than our teenagers are.
Oh, yeah.
Ask your teenager to take over your social media, right? To teach you about AI. So even more than like going a step beyond, like supporting them that way, as in more turning the tables and asking them for their help. Help me. Another thing that I would strongly encourage parents to do, I know that we are all busy. I know that our families are all busy. Everybody in our households are going in different directions. At least once a week, have a meal together and insist that phones not come to the dining table. Insist that phones be put away. Like, start with once a week, right? That's a hard thing to do. Like we don't need any, right? So, and the third thing is, and this is a piece that parents have to do. And one of the things that Mocha Moms is focusing on, it is not specific to social media, but social media certainly falls into this. We are going to school board meetings. We may not be on the agenda, right? But we are going to sit in those meetings all across the country with our Mocha Mom shirts on. So y'all know that we're there. Because I feel like if moms can show up at school board meetings and get books thrown out of our classrooms and out of our libraries, we can show up with what's important for us and our kids. Because like we are not the minority, we are people of the global majority. So we are we outnumber, right? Us and our allies. So we can
love that. I'd love that. And I know that I, have listened to many conversations with experts. And one of the things they tell parents probably doesn't work. We think it works. Don't take the kid. You've given your kid a phone and they're on social media and they do that and they get in trouble at school or whatever. Taking the phone away doesn't necessarily solve the problem or change their behavior, whatever is going on. So I love both of your approaches to, instead of fighting them, join them in a positive manner to get inside their heads and to get them to open up to you and what you're saying about social media and the positive ways in which we can use this tool, AI technology and that sort of thing. Discipline by taking the phone away and permitting them to use social media doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah. And I'll say that at Howard University, we do have a boot camp where we invite those from the community. It's virtual in data science, and that's through the Center for Applied Data Science Analytics. So, feel free to join, find us online, engage with us. There's a lot of work to be done in the social media sphere as far as how do we parent now that it's there. And then as you're a young person coming up, how do you safeguard yourself to make sure that you're not taken advantage of? It's beyond, my days of you're not supposed to talk to a stranger. Now we have stranger danger all over the place when we enter into the social media landscape. So how do we mitigate that stranger danger landscape while protecting our kids, but then also making sure they do have access? Because as I said, there can be benefits, but there has to be some sort of balancing act. But I'm excited to see what the young people will develop, and also providing opportunities for them to just think through some solutions and what should be the next social media, what should be the next AI, and the things that I think will be on the horizon will be interesting, and I think we'll see some new things happening pretty soon.
Give me more information on.
Well, one of the things that totally ruined my Thanksgiving break, absolutely ruined it. Like, I am very nosy. I'm a telenovela junkie. So I just like to just rabbit hole all the way, right? So the Genesis mission was launched. The idea is, can we take data from different sources, right? The national labs, science labs, toss it all together and do science in a new way that's AI driven. And if we can, we have this scientific method that's hypothesis driven. Is that method even relevant anymore? Do we need a new method of actually uncovering new science, of doing science in a new way? And what does that mean? My first knee-jerk reaction was, there's no security risk here, right? But, that's just me being tongue in cheek. But I think it will be interesting as we really kind of embark, and if we're able to leverage, right, the promises of AI, because right now I see it as an overpromise. I don't see it happening yet. And then also, if we can figure out quantum, quantum will repower and help us rethink this whole thing of AI. And then the third thing is, AI is built on a certain type of model, right? Neural net models and so on. If we can figure out a different model that AI can be built on, we could do AI in different ways. And all the L's, the deep learning, machine learning, all the L's, it'll be reconfigured. And so AI won't be just this generative AI. It will be something else that seeks to mimic human behavior. What will that be? So I think there are some interesting things on the horizon. Oftentimes I'm sitting back eating popcorn and watching, but at the same time, I want to make sure that the students that we engage, develop, and the broader public as well are really active in the development of the technology, of the policy, the application, all the ends. And so we enjoy partnerships with a lot of the big companies, and it's about having that partnership where we can communicate and work across, that I think makes for a better ecosystem. So
I know people are listening to you and they're like, this is blowing my mind, right?
Right.
As the executive director at Howard's Center for Applied Data Science and Analytics, tell people what that is. Is that a department under the umbrella?
Right? Yeah, I'm a total math geek, right? So I'm a mathematician, absolutely math geek, right? Love math. And I'm curious. So the tool that I think about curiosity is math modeling. How can I explore the world by creating models to figure out what's happening, how things are connected, how things work? So I'm in the office of the provost. So I have a number of titles, kind of a couple of them. And so that's one of them. I also co-chair our presidents, President Wayne Frederick's AI Advisory Council, along with Provost Williams. And so really, if you sum up my titles, I think about 4 or 5 of them. I don't know, depends on how you count them. My day-to-day job is thinking about data analytics AI across the university infrastructure, from education to research to operations to partnerships. So my day will go from developing AI policy and thinking about intellectual property to we'll be soon, cross fingers, launching a fundamentals of AI certificate that'll have an undergraduate graduate track, to building research partnerships with Google, with Amazon, to providing training with Microsoft, to, so and then also thinking about how can we leverage our enterprise data systems and create AI technologies to basically enhance user experience. So it's fun. It's just,
And I see Mocha moms being right there on the front lines of getting involved. Danae, you tell me. Come on.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about how we can get Dr. Washington in to do one of our Parent Nation conversations, one of our monthly national conversations to talk about this. And again, I'm going to encourage Dr. Washington to put one more thing on her plate, and it is, if it's not already develop a virtual summer camp for students.
It is
because
virtual.
What you have given us, right? Absolutely.
It sounds like we got a deal already.
Right, and what Dr. Washington has given us are some career tracks for our babies.
That's what we need.
That are AI proof
for this thing. Mm-hmm.
Back in the day when I was a parent and had like absolutely no money, I was like, my kids, I want them to go to a STEM camp. But, as a math mom, I couldn't afford it, right? It's like, young starting professor, couldn't afford it. So I just built my own. So it was way back in the day between the University of Evansville and Ivy Tech. And we had 26 students, all African-American from Center City, to do a week of STEM investigations, open-ended projects, and they can explore different things. It was absolutely phenomenal. I did that with my colleague, we call him Chef Watez Phelps there. And just to see the students' eyes open. I took that same framework and then created a pre-freshman summer experience, a 1-week dive into data science. So yes, providing.
I want this conversation to continue.
And it will.
But we have to wrap things up. So before we go quickly, I do want people to know how to be able to reach out and get in touch and get more information. Mocha Moms, as well as the Applied Data Science and Analytics. So Dr. Talitha, what's the best way for folks to get more information to reach out to you?
I hate to say it, but I'm on social media. Sorry. I just had to say it, right? You can find me on LinkedIn, the Gram. Still trying to figure out TikTok,
I know, me too.
Okay, fine. TalithaWashington.com. Just do a Google search, right? Bing search, whatever search engine. First name, last name in there. You'll find me. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Not too hard. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Danielle.
Well, you can always go to mochamoms.org, no matter where you are in the country, and find us. But if you are interested, if you are in the DMV and are interested in the summer camp fair, which is where we will lay out like so many summer camps in the area, you can go to Mid-Atlantic at mochamoms.org, and you can follow them at midatlanticmochamoms.org.
All right. That is it. We're out of time. I thank you for your expertise, sharing your personal stories as well. I'm Malek Green for Harold Fisher. We're going to be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have taken a lot away from this conversation in a good way. Stay safe, stay warm. Bye-bye.
Thank you.